Hey guys, it's Kaz here, aka Cats and Camera, and this is the New Year's resolutions book tag. I originally saw this on Books and Lala's page, so I'll link her video in the description. And yeah, let's just get into it. So there are 12 questions in this tag, and the first is an author you'd like to read. I'm going with Maggie Stiefvater. This is kind of a little bit cheating because I've already read this book, but it was this year, so it still counts. I'd also like to read Irvine Welsh this year. I think these books will be interesting to read because he writes really Scottish. Let me explain that. His characters, I've not read any, but I know that his characters talk phonetically Scottish, if you know what I mean. And I really love Scottish accents, so it's going to be really fun to be able to read these and actually hear the accents coming through. Because a lot of the times, books can have people from all over the world, different parts of the country, but you always read them in your head in your own voice. So it's going to be fun and interesting to read these and actually hear a Scottish accent because they're written phonetically in Scottish when they talk. The next question is pretty simple. It's just a book you'd like to read. So for that one again, I've gone with two. First of all, I've got The World of Normal Boys by K.M. Sunlane. I think that's how you pronounce that. And I've also got The Losers Book 1 by Andy Diggle and Jock. Surely all of the books on my shelf that I haven't read are books I'd like to read, so this could fit anything. Next up is a classic you'd like to read, and for that one I've gone with Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland at the beginning of this year / the end of last year, and I didn't really like it. But I don't really have many classics, so I'm going to go with this one. The next question is a book you'd like to reread. Now, I don't really reread books very often. I would love to, but I have so many that I want to read that I haven't read yet that I just can't go back and reread books. But for this one, I've got What's Up with Jodie Barton by Hayley Long. I borrowed this one from the library quite a few years ago, and I know the basic premise of what happens, but in a few months I'm doing a video that's going to include this book, so I want to refresh my memory about what happens. I also have Yes Man by Danny Wallace. I hate this cover so much because I've not seen this film, but I know for a fact that it's completely different to the book, and that really annoys me. But this book's hilarious. Again, this was one I borrowed from the library years and years ago, and eventually when I got my own copy it was this horrific movie cover version. But I really want to read this again and see if it's as funny as the first time I read it. Next up is a book you've had for ages that you want to read. Again, I've got two for this. The first up, I've got John Richardson's sort of biography, kind of, well, it's about his life anyway. It's called It's Not Me, It's You. I've had this for years. I think John Richardson's hilarious. I started reading it ages ago when I first got it, but I must have found something else and put this down and read that instead. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and read all this, hopefully. I've also got I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Law. I've had this for a couple of years. I've got the first 3 books of this series. I've not read it before, but I know if I start reading this, I'm going to want to get all of the series, so it's one of those that if I start it, I'm going to be buying. But I'd like to read this one anyway. Next up is a big book you'd like to read, and for this one, I've got one that I've already started, and it's A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. I'm 704 pages in, but this is 1,117 pages, so I'd like to finish this year. The problem with this is that I read a few chapters and then I'll get to somebody that I'm not really that fussed of, and then I'll put it down for ages. I need to power through the chapters of the characters that are not my favourite so I can finish the book. I'm kind of not mad that it's taken me so long to read though, because the next one's not out and probably won't be out for years, so slow and steady. But I definitely want to finish this year. The next one is an author you've previously read and want to read more of, and that's definitely Andrew Smith. I have In the Path of Falling Objects, Passenger and Ghost Medicine, and then I would have read all 10 of his books. Next I've got a book you got for Christmas that you want to read. I only got a handful of books. One of them was The Raven Boys, which obviously I've already read, but the one I'll pick for this is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. I've read the first one, really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to reading the second one. I've heard a lot about this, that it's like 1,000,000 times better than the first one, so looking forward to this. We have a series you want to read completely this year from start to finish, and for that I've picked The Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan. I've read the Percy Jackson series and the Heroes of Olympus next onto this one, and it's only 3 books and it's middle grade, so this will be really easy to do. And I've also got the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness that I want to really get to. I have pretty much no idea what this one's about, but I really like Patrick Ness, so I'm looking forward to reading these as well. So for the last of the questions that actually involve books, it's a series that you've already started that you want to finish this year. And for that one, I need to read Mockingjay. Yes, I'm one of the only people that have never read Hunger Games. Well, I've read the first 2 now, but I have the last one to finish. I'm really enjoying this, so I'm definitely going to read this soon. And then I'll be able to watch the films, because I've never seen any of them either. It's crazy because this was massive and the films are massive, but I didn't really get spoiled for anything of it, which is really not something you see nowadays with internet. And also, as I'm sure a few people, about the 3 people that have watched my other videos will know, I want to finish the Chew series. I think there's like 10 of these, maybe 11, but I really enjoy this, so definitely want to finish this year. So now the tag asks if you set reading goals, and if you do, how many do you want to read this year? And I've set my Goodreads to 50 books. Last year I did the same. I read 80 last year, and I know I can definitely get to 50, but I didn't want to push myself and force myself to read when I didn't want to. I've read 6 this year already. It's only a couple of weeks into January, so I definitely feel like I'm going to do it, but I'd rather have something that I can accomplish rather than something that I'm going to be pushing towards to try and accomplish. And then the last question is, do you have any other reading goals? And for this one, I've talked about it already in my 2017 goals video, so I'll link that below. But basically, I have a list of loads of different reading, not goals, reading challenges, and I want to hit all of those, but they're all just a bit of fun. There's nothing too serious about it. So yeah. What are you blubbing at? You're right, baby. This one was just crying on the floor, wanting to be picked up. Hello. So yeah, that's the end of the New Year's resolution book tag. Comment below any of the answers to any of the questions, or what you want to read this year. It's bye from me and bye from Finky. Bye.